All right, so we are swapping places, and now I get to introduce Deirdre, who most of you probably know in a lot of, like, she knows way more people than I do and has invited a bunch of people to the group as well. But poor Deirdre, so I'm sitting there in my kid's bedroom, and I just get this idea, and I'm like, hey, let's start a group. And I just send this note to Deirdre, like, would you help? And she's like, what? Sure.
Yeah.
So I've just sort of drug her, like threw her in. I was like, hey, we're just starting a photography group.
Start an intensive course, Marie. Like,
I know, it was so funny. And it's really, we're maybe not the best pair because we're both really laid back about it all. And we're like, yeah, that works. That sounds good. Which is really nice to have somebody who feels about the same. Luckily, we also have Christina as an admin, or else nothing would ever get done. Ever. No, I won't say that. We do things in big bursts. Like, we get an idea, we'll do loads of stuff, and then like we'll do other things for a while. So luckily we have Christina because she balances it out, and she'll get interviewed and you'll get to see her and meet her a little bit at some point. But for now, we're going to go to Deirdre. Yeah, I guess that's the introduction. So tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your life, where you live, and the people in your family.
I live in Cavan with my 3 kids and my man, and I've got 3 cats and 2 dogs. And yeah, yeah, I've been living in a zoo in Cavan basically with my little wild children. But yeah, I'm originally from Dublin and he's from Hungary, and so I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, so it's interesting how many people, have partners from other places or might be from somewhere else, like myself, and it's a challenge in a lot of ways because you don't have like one home base. You're split between 2 different countries and 2 different ways of thinking, and
the last couple of years I think was really hard when people couldn't get home to see their families. For you, it's harder because it's like Arizona, whereas Andras would be going back and forth a couple of times a year, and we all, so this year hopefully now we'll get our little Hungarian trip in with family, so they get to see their grandparents and yeah.
And do they speak any Hungarian, your kids?
The kids, a few words, not much. I think that's because I'm their mom. I'd say if he was home, you know what I mean? It's because I'm with them all the time and I'm speaking English. I'd say if he was here all the time speaking Hungarian, they'd pick it up. Like if I was the Hungarian one, they'd probably pick it up a bit more. But I think they need to spend more time there.
Yeah, and maybe when they're older, do like send them and for a summer or something.
Go over to your granny.
Yeah, Tara, my eldest, keeps telling me she wants to move there, and I moved to Arizona, and I'm like, yeah, no problem, sweetheart. You just have to spend an entire summer there because the temperature gets up 42, 43, 46. I mean, it's miserable. And she hasn't a clue how horrible that is.
Hungarian summers are too much for me. Hungarian Octobers, like the last time we went, it was October, actually, the weather was about 24 degrees. It was lovely. It was lovely. But then, the weather is lovely anytime but the summer.
Is there like a particular type of time of day or type of weather, or what is your favorite thing to photograph? Like you look outside the door and you're like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. Tell me about that.
No, I'm not into clear blue skies. Screw that. No, that time of day where, when there's just about to be a thunderstorm or a rainstorm. Well, we never really get thunderstorms, but when the birds are flying in the sky, yeah, dramatic skies.
Yeah, and when it's really kind of dark and
yeah, I get so like, I have to go. Or if there's a nice sunset, but I really love photographing in the rain or just when it's about to start raining, because I love that mood that it gives to photographs, this kind of dark moody look. So whenever I love it when families actually take the risk and they don't mind about the weather, and if we do get that rain, because it really does. Sorry, my dog.
Yeah.
Sorry, need my chihuahua. 1 second.
So what would you? That's okay. Let's take care of the little one. All right. So when she comes back, I'm going to ask her some tips and tricks about it. Okay. All right. So if you're in that situation, right, and it's getting fairly dark because those dark clouds are coming over, and yet there's still, you're outside, so you get a bit of light, what would be your kind of go-to settings for that situation?
I always use, I don't mind my shutter speed, whatever my shutter speed on my, not my shutter speed, my ISO, whatever that has to be. So I set that last. So I have to make sure I have a really high shutter speed. That is I need it. I don't know. I get anything below 1,000. I know that sounds weird, but I'm like in the thousands with my shutter speed. I think that's probably how my Sony broke the goddamn shutter with the last one. But I love really high shutter speeds just so I can catch even like every bit of hair being blown in the wind, every little, kid, and I shoot kind of, I always have my camera on kind of a low burst, not super, but like a low, you know.
That's so cool to know. I never knew that. Oh my gosh.
Then, aperture depending on what I'm photographing. I'm not one of these, I don't need my photos to have bokeh. I'm not really into, actually I only want them to have bokeh if it's like a portrait or like, but I don't know, I'd say anything from 2.8 to 5.6 to above. But if I want starbursts and all that, I need my f-stops to be, f9 plus. So then once I get those two, depending on what I'm photographing, then I put my ISO to whatever that needs to be.
That's so good to know. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that about the shutter speeds. That's really interesting.
I don't know. I just feel weird. I don't know. When I see something like 250 or something, I just feel like that's like, even indoors, I'd be using like 1,000. I don't know, 1,000 up to 8,000.
That's crazy. Yeah. So shutter speed is definitely the thing that I struggle with a lot, because I do tend to push it down to 250 or like just let it drop, and then I get annoyed because my photos are too fuzzy.
Sometimes I was like, yeah, you need to get the little bit of movement in the like, not to just freeze it. To get movement, you have to have a lower shutter speed, and that's also, I kind of was experimenting with that last summer during lockdown, trying to get that move, because that movement can be really beautiful, like what we did in the group now, just to get movement through slow shutter speeds.
Yeah, I think it's good to do both. I think it's nice to have like your go-to, this is what I want, this is how I do, this is my style. And then when you have what you need, you've got it, you're like, hey, let's have some fun, let's play with something, let's drop it down. And
what you want to photograph. Like if I was out and I want the sky, like, I don't know, and someone in front of the sky, whatever, that'd be the shutter speed I'd use. I don't know, that would be the second.
Sorry.
But then, yeah, if you wanted to get a bit more movement, if someone's in a playground, lower the shutter speeds a bit.
Yeah. So you kind of call yourself a lifestyle photographer, and that's kind of a new genre that people now know they want. I don't know if they even know to use the word lifestyle at the moment. I think that's starting to kind of become part of the world. And so what would be your kind of take on lifestyle photography? What is that to you?
My take on lifestyle isn't there's so many different, so every photographer is totally different. Like there's those that have the client wardrobe and they shoot in a particular location at a particular time of day, and their photographs are stunning, Whereas mine is like I don't know. Like people ring me for wardrobe advice and I'm like, man, I don't even know how to dress myself. Like, I honestly don't care what people wear to sessions. I try to tell people to avoid, logos, like
big neon Nike across the front.
Black tracksuits, like but like I'm not. But even if they showed up to that, I don't mind, because I want people to look like themselves in my photos. So I don't really do. And then I meet them. My favorite place to photograph would be somewhere that means something to them, like their home or their garden. I love photographing in people's homes because they mean something.
And they're comfortable there.
Yeah, like I do pose. I give people prompts and I put them in the nice light if we have nice light, and I tell them what to do. But I also love it when they do their own thing. I know it's not like documentary, but it would be like my little kind of Like lately, people at first sessions, they've been bringing. Like I had a session there a few weeks ago where one of the moms had brought hot chocolate and like a little picnic. And for me, it was just I didn't even know like that was part of the plan. So it was like, yes, don't have to pose anybody. And those are the photos, and where you can just sit back and you can take photographs play with composition and document. Well,
Yeah.
again, I would tell somebody here, turn around or do that again.
Yep. You
if,
have like lifestyle to you is a very loose kind of interpretation of it. It's not like you don't have rigid, like I do this and I do that. You just like to hang out with people and
people, I tell them what to do
yeah,
and what they want to do, and it's a lot of fun.
like guidance. You guide them versus like pose them.
I don't want people to not be themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But,
So one of the things about your photographs is there's always like so much movement and a lot of connection between people. And I just like it blows my mind. I cannot figure out how you do that because whenever I seem to try to get that to happen, it's like all awkward and people are looking in weird ways and they're like scrunched up. I don't know how you manage to do that. What would be your like 3 go-to prompts that you would tell people to do that you kind of know that you're like, okay, these, or maybe like one or 2 or 3, like you almost always pull this out in a session.
I don't know. Everything always has to involve movement. I never ever do I tell someone to, maybe for the granny, if she wants a picture of everyone just standing looking at the camera, group shots. But like for every other photograph, it has to be involve movement, because I think when people are standing there and they're camera aware, it makes people feel self-conscious. And and when people feel self-conscious, they look, they're not. And then when they see the photo, all they're going to see is how they think they look in the photo as well. So movement. So I know, say if I was to get a bunch of, I don't know, siblings, I'd get them all to stand and put their arms around each other and then like walk towards me, but I'd get them to like whack their hips together at the same time and keep looking at each other, or say, I don't know, that's just one. Or for Irish couples, I don't know, like Irish couples, I'm just saying Irish couples because they're Irish.
That's who we mostly photograph because we're in Ireland.
Oh yeah, no, like I don't know. There's something about Irish older couples when you tell them to look lovingly into each other's eyes, like they can't take themselves seriously. They just burst their shits out laughing. So that's how that one, like, look lovely into like at your wedding day or whatever.
And then you actually get the smiles that they want anyway. Without
people, every person's completely different though as well. Like you get from whatever, you get different reactions to every prompt that you say. But I don't know.
Kind of, it comes off the cuff most of the time.
I wouldn't have tree that it's kind of like you have to go with the vibe of the people, because there's some people that aren't going to be into that, so you don't bother. And then there's people, so there wouldn't be tree ones that work. More
like ideas like just get people moving.
Yeah, get people moving, like even just hold hands, run towards the camera. Like, and then we'll just start laughing. Or here you run up and then you jump like you're in some sort of movie, or I don't know. Or just look at anything, like get the mom to hold the baby and move her body at the same time, and like smell her head, smell the baby's head, rub the back of the baby's head. Like even if they're just like a man and woman standing there, get him to like rub her elbows or rub her hair, just so there's movement going on. And usually people just laugh because they find it so ridiculous. You're just like, and because I can't say things seriously, I can't, like, I go really hyper at sessions, so I can't be like, Marie and Dermot stand there and just like, nuzzle into each other. I can't say it seriously. You end up feeling awkward and laughing your heads off, and it's just like, they're like,
you get that a lot, like in your photographs. There's so much like laughter. It looks like everyone's having fun, and that's a lot of
fun. Cool. I'm even joking myself as well, so it's all kind of like everyone's having fun, but yeah, it's I do wish that I could get more serious photos sometimes, like more because I feel like all my photos are everyone just laughing.
That's kind of in your mind, like we would talk about where we are in the photography journey. You've been photographing for a very, very long time. What's the next thing that you would like to work on, or a direction you're going, or like what's next for you?
I really want to work on my composition. I want my composition because I feel like I'm stuck in portrait land as well. Like a lot of my photos, they have like one subject, or it's just portraits. I need to get more into storytelling photography, like photographs that tell a story. Photographs that tell that's composition. I need more layering. I need more story. I need more story. More real. If that makes sense.
It's so funny because we look at someone, we're like, oh, you've got you've got your style, you're great, you know what you're doing, it's amazing. But I think that if you sort of sit on that and you're like, yeah, this is what I do, it gets boring really fast.
I remember I was like looking through, like I think I was actually talking to you at the time, and I said it to you. Like I was looking through the drawer photos that I have upstairs, and I'm like, there is beautiful pictures of my kids, and they're all just like lovely pictures. Oh, there's Jack standing there in front of the wall. There's Colleen standing there. Look, the little bit of light in her hair. It's so nice. But like, no stories, no evidence of anything that they did. It was just portraits, and or getting them to all stand beside each other, and portraits, and getting them to walk to, and it's all prompted. And I'm like, man, there's actually nothing. I have no memories here. I can
Yeah.
see how good they looked and how cute they were. But yeah, I need more photographs of, yeah, things like I
Yeah,
need
more
to.
storytelling. That's really cool. We are okay, really quickly, give me a bit of a rundown about the cameras that you've used and your favorite cameras, and like maybe advice for because I know you shoot a different system than I do. So if somebody is trying to figure out what their next camera should be, any kind of thoughts about that?
I think when you find that your camera is like when you're using your camera and you know your camera inside and out, and it's not doing what you need it to do anymore, then it's time to move on, or if you can move on. But like I don't know, I started with my first camera was a D40, and it was like really expensive. I think they're like, you could probably get one for €50 now. I think I spent about €1,000 on that back in the day, my first ever DSLR. And then it was Nikon. I love Nikon. I wouldn't have a clue about Canon. I wouldn't, I'd be just like, take that away from me. I don't want that camera. But yeah, so it's the D40, little crop sensor, kit lens. That was an amazing camera to start with. And I still have that camera upstairs, and it still works perfect. And then I went from that to the D300, and then I had that camera for ages. I had that camera for ages, and it is terrible. If I went to look at it now, I'm like, how did I even use this camera? Like big, massive brick, with the 50mm, and I thought it was the best thing ever. And like you said, and like I don't know why, because it was so expensive, but it's like I don't know why I didn't just spend the extra and get the full frame and save myself all this hassle. But then now in hindsight, it was kind of good to learn with a really hard camera, because then when you did upgrade, it was just so much easier. So then I went to the 610, then upgraded to the D750, and then the D750 was like forever. And then I went to Sony there a couple of years ago, and then I missed the D750. I missed it, like months and months of me trying to get used to the Sony. And then I just love the Sony. And then the Sony is like all I shoot with. I'm just like, oh my God, everything's improved. I can see the light now. I can control my photos much better, with the electronic viewfinder, and everything's just a breeze. And then my camera broke there on me. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago. At the end of a session, my shutter collapsed. So
And it's like losing a piece of yourself. You're like, oh, what do I do?
So then I'm back using, because my dad bought the D750 off me, so I borrowed that back off him, and I'm shooting with that now in the 50 Sigma Art when my camera's getting fixed. And I also use the Fuji X100V as well. So I'm like 3 systems.
Yeah, tell me, what do you love about the Fuji? Because I know you do. So what do you love about it?
It's just the colors. It's just a JPEG straight out of the camera. Like straight out, like I do, like I shoot in RAW and JPEG, but the reason I got that camera was so that I didn't have to edit, and I just had nice pictures, and because it's so small and it does everything, it's the most beautiful little camera in the world.
So would you recommend, like, somebody who's pure hobbyist, no desire to shoot other people, they just want a nice camera to play with and take pictures of things, which one would you recommend?
The X100. Any of the X100 series, like, doesn't have to be a V, like the T or the S. Yeah, any of those Fuji compact cameras. Yeah, I'd recommend that, or I'd recommend just pick up a run of the mill crop sensor camera with a kit lens and just play. Yeah, like
just have fun.
Yeah, or an Instax Mini.
I know, that's so crazy. It's such a silly little camera, but it's just so much fun. I think that's probably going to be Christmas presents next year for the kids.
Downloading some cool apps on your phone to kind of process your phone photos and get into that, and then actually print them because phones are amazing. I need to start taking more pictures with my phone.
Yeah. I still have the iPhone 6. So yeah, they're not very print worthy, but at some point I'll upgrade and get a proper camera. But I think one of the coolest things that I ever heard, or one of the quotes is really good. It's the best camera is the one in your hands. And so a lot of times people are like, am I really a photographer if I'm just using my phone? I don't think photography has to do with the gear that you use. It's more of a mindset that you see something and you want to capture it through your eyes, and you're just going to use whatever you have with you to do that, which is kind of cool these days with like phones can just do so much. There's even like, I think an Instagram account called iPhoneography and stuff like that. So I don't think anything should hold you back from taking pictures. All right. So if you had somebody as well who was I have two questions. The first one, somebody who's just starting out and wants to get into the game of the photography business, because I know you and I have talked about mistakes that we've made in the past, and like, if only we had known this when we started. So that's the first one. And the second is, what is the thing that has brought you like to the next level? What have you ever done when you look back and you're like, oh, I grew the most out of doing this particular thing, class or a mindset or whatever? So the first one is, what advice would you give someone who just wants to get into the photography business?
I would research like business. I don't know the business part, because when I was starting, I was just winging it. I was like, oh, let's do this, and I didn't have not a clue about how much it costs. How much it costs to run a business is insane, and it was only get out a piece of paper, do your cost of doing business, figure out how much all this is going to cost you, and then figure out how much you want to work, how many sessions you want to do, and then figure out your pricing and get your pricing right from day one. Because, well, not even right, your pricing is probably not ever going to be right, but price for profit, from day one, so that you're
Don't be afraid to charge.
No, do charge, because otherwise, if you don't charge, you'll burn out, and you won't make any money. Like if you're doing it as a business, obviously you don't have to. If you want to do it as a hobby, like that's absolutely perfect. But if you want to make photography your business and your bread earner, then you need to charge what you're worth, and you need to take into consideration all your costs.
And even though you might think to yourself, well, I don't know if my photos are worth anything, it has nothing to do whether your photos are worth it. It's what is your time worth?
Yeah, but all that. Like on my first year, I think my first year was like all these time away from my kids on the weekends, on my weeks, all just editing, and like there was zero, like heck all profit. Like the end, like I may as well have done it for free. Would have been easier, less work, But yeah, so that would be my advice for business wise, and also to not compare yourself to other photographers all the time, and don't be other photographers' business. Don't look at other photographers' business as a way that you should be running yours, or thinking that you have to be like them or anything like that, because every business is just as individual as the person running it. Like, and the second question was how.
What has taken you, like when you look back over your kind of journey in photography, has there been anything that you went like, oh, this is something that helped me improve?
Yeah, during lockdown, having all that time to just kind of photograph for myself again, and that was really helpful. And I think the main one, I think at the beginning there was an awful lot of, like I was saying there a minute ago, kind of comparing yourself to other photographers and trying to be like the whole traditional baby in the basket pose, or the family. I was trying so hard to do that, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Like there's amazing women out there, and men too, like that are amazing photographers are doing these, and I just couldn't. And then you feel real crap that you can't, but I think during lockdown, I did this course by Ninka, and Ninka Kojak. I'm terrified I'm saying her name wrong. Am I saying her name wrong?
I think it's Ninka. Yeah, she's Dutch, so it's a kind of a cool name.
Yeah, she did an amazing course called Unfreeze Yourself. You did it as well. It was the best.
Yeah.
It was just about learning to photograph from your gut like a kid again, and don't not to be thinking about just photographing for the joy of it. And And I think that really, really, really helped me, because then I started doing that at sessions. So we'd have like, you know, family there, you do all that. And then I'd be like, something would catch my eye, and just that little kind of, oh, I have to go take, look at that over there. And like, and it was just, yeah, that changed my work completely. Just to be able to, yeah, bring that little joy of shooting like a kid again to sessions. And sometimes I'm like, I miss that so much. I just have to get my camera and go for a walk, or just take pictures of puddles or something, just to get back into that headspace of just create.
That's so funny. Like, the thing that we think that we're not allowed to do, but we get so busy with everything else, that to tell yourself the thing that brought you up to the next level as a photographer is to photograph for yourself,
Yeah.
which I think is really
it's photography.
really cool.
Yeah, and don't try to be like anybody else. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
that's your assignment, people, that you have to stop thinking about other people and do it for yourself.
I'm obsessed with Dee Von Bach, like obsessed with her. Actually, it's one of the photographers in Ninka's course told me to check her out, because she's lifestyle as well, you know, because all the photographers that I love are all documentary, and I'm just like, and you feel like
you right now.
Yeah, no, it's unreal, like unreal. But I when I saw Dee Dee's, I was just like, she's lifestyle. She poses her family in this, or the families in such weird ways, and like I was just like, no, Deirdre, you're not going to be her. Like, I'm trying to photograph like her, and I'm like, I have to photograph like, and I can't. But I just, but it's also, yeah, just be inspired, but don't be, just be yourself as well.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I know we're going to beat a dead horse with this, but share them, you know, photograph for yourself, and then share with the group, and saying, like, even with the knowledge, like, who cares if anybody likes it or comments on it or hearts or whatever. It's just there's something good about doing something for yourself and then putting it out there. So, or print them, do something with your photographs. So share them with us, or print them and stick them in a box, but do something with the photographs that speak most to you. That when you've taken 500 photos, but there might be 3 or 4 that you just love for no reason, has nothing to do about being good or somebody else like them or anything, but there's something in that photograph that spoke to you. Print them. I told Deirdre to sit right where she's sitting, because you can see all of the printed photos around her, and it just makes me so happy to see. So happy. You can't really tell here, but I have photographs printed all over my house too, which I love. I've got like these over here, which are hilarious because they're pictures of plants, and I almost never take them. And the picture of the plant is like the biggest picture in my house. Whatever. That's what I mean. What you want. So we're going to end this interview now, but thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you get a chance to see us, see our faces, get to know us a little bit. And we're going to be doing this throughout, you know, off and on, different interviews of different people. It's not people who are successful. It's not people who nothing. It's literally get to know people in the group. So we're going to interview photographers wherever you're at. So we'll probably put up, I don't know if we did or not. Did you already put up a post?
Yeah, there was a post up, or you could just comment or message either of us, and we will.
And you can have a chat down. We'd love to get to know you. I am thinking of a few names of people that have been making work, like Sarah Riley. If you're listening to this, I would really love to chat with you and get to know you better. So there's just a few. Angela, you know, I've got some names up there that I would really like to talk to. So expect a message from us asking if we can chat with you. And it could be really short. It could be, 3 or 4 minutes, or it might be longer. So it just kind of depends on what you want. So, all right. I guess that's it. Saying goodbye is the hardest part of an interview, trying to finish it up. So I'm just going to end it in, the normal goodbye.